Am I the jerk for warning my friend about going into debt for a $10,000 engagement ring? A heated debate over love, finances, and whether I overstepped while trying to protect my friend's future marriage and financial stability. I, 28M, have a close friend, Mike, 29M, who I've known for years. We've been through a lot together, late-night study sessions in college, road trips across the country, and countless conversations about life, love, and everything in between. Over the years, we've built a friendship that feels more like family. So when Mike told me a few months ago that he was planning to propose to his girlfriend, Sarah, I was genuinely thrilled for him. They've been together for about 4 years, and in that time, I've watched their relationship grow into something solid and beautiful. They complement each other in all the right ways. And even though I've always known Mike as someone who could be a bit reckless with his decisions, Sarah seems to balance him out. When Mike first mentioned that he was thinking about proposing, we were at a bar one Friday night after work, sipping on beers like we had done 1,000 times before. I could see the excitement in his eyes as he described the proposal he was planning. Something simple but heartfelt, a moment they'd both remember forever. I remember feeling a sense of pride for my friend, knowing how far he had come, both personally and in his relationship. We talked about how much he loved Sarah, how she was his best friend and partner in every sense of the word. It was one of those rare conversations where we weren't joking around or giving each other a hard time. It felt real, honest, and mature. Then about a week later, Mike called me up and asked if I wanted to join him for some ring shopping. He sounded excited, like a kid about to pick out a new toy. I agreed, figuring it would be a fun day out and maybe I could help him find something special. I didn't know much about engagement rings, but I figured that between the two of us, we could figure it out. Plus, I wanted to support him however I could. The day of the ring shopping arrived, and we met up in the city. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, the kind of day where the air has that first hint of winter, but the sun still warms your face. We walked into the first jewelry store, and I could immediately see Mike's eyes widen as we were greeted by the sparkling array of rings on display. The jeweler, a well-dressed man in his mid-50s, came over and started talking to us about the different options. He showed us rings with diamonds of all shapes and sizes, some set in platinum, others in gold. The price tags were a little shocking to me, but Mike didn't seem fazed. At one point, Mike zeroed in on a particular ring, an absolute stunner with a large, flawless diamond at its center. I could tell he was already picturing it on Sarah's finger. The jeweler explained that the ring was $10,000, which made me do a double take. I knew Mike had a decent job, but I also knew that he didn't have that kind of money just sitting in his bank account. I mean, who does at our age? I hesitated, not wanting to dampen the mood, but I felt like I had to ask. So, how are you planning to pay for this? Mike, without missing a beat, casually replied, I'll just put it on my credit card. I'll figure it out later. I remember staring at him, dumbfounded. He said it as if he was buying a new pair of shoes or a TV on sale, like it was no big deal. But 10 grand? On credit? That's a huge deal, and I couldn't just sit there and let him make such a rash decision without at least saying something. I took a deep breath and said, Mike, man, I don't know if this is a good idea. Going into debt for a ring seems like a bad move, especially when you guys are about to start your lives together. Why not look for something more affordable? I tried to keep my tone light, like I was offering a friendly piece of advice, but I could already see Mike's expression change. His excitement dimmed, replaced by a defensive look I've seen on him a few times before, usually when someone questions his choices. He looked at me and said, Sarah deserves the best. I'm not going to propose to her with something cheap. She deserves something stunning, something that shows her how much I love her. I could hear the frustration creeping into his voice, but I pushed on. I get that, but love isn't about the price of the ring, Mike. It's about what you guys mean to each other. You don't need to start your marriage in debt over this. Think about the long term. What if something happens and you're still paying off this ring months, even years from now? That kind of financial stress can really put a strain on a relationship. He cut me off. You don't get it, do you? You don't understand the pressure. All of our friends have gotten engaged with these huge, stunning rings, and Sarah knows it. If I show up with something smaller, she'll be disappointed. Everyone will judge us. It's not just about the money. It's about showing that I care, that I'm willing to go all out for her. I could feel the tension between us building. We'd had disagreements before, but this felt different. I was trying to be logical, to think about his future, but he was coming from a place of emotion and societal pressure. I didn't want to escalate things, but I also didn't want him to make a decision he'd regret later. So I tried again. I hear you, man. I really do. But this is a huge decision. You guys are going to have so many expenses coming up. Weddings aren't cheap. And then there's the possibility of buying a house, maybe starting a family down the line. A $10,000 ring is a lot of money. Maybe you could find something beautiful but more affordable, and then upgrade later if that's something important to both of you. Mike's face flushed with frustration, and he shook his head. I can't believe you're being so unsupportive right now. I thought you'd be happy for me, but instead, you're making me feel like I'm being irresponsible. It's my money, and if I want to spend it on Sarah, I will. You don't get to tell me how to live my life. That stung. I wasn't trying to tell him how to live his life. I was trying to look out for him, like any good friend would. But maybe I had pushed too hard. The conversation was getting more heated than I had anticipated, and I could feel the rift between us growing. Part of me wanted to back off, to just let him do what he wanted and hope for the best, but another part of me felt responsible, like I had to make him see reason. We went back and forth for a while longer, the conversation turning into a full-blown argument. At one point, I told him flat out that I thought he was being reckless, and he accused me of being jealous because I'm not in a relationship. That hurt, but I didn't let it show. Eventually, the conversation fizzled out. Mike was determined to buy the expensive ring, and I could see there was no changing his mind. I left the jewelry store that day, feeling conflicted. On one hand, I knew Mike was an adult, capable of making his own decisions, and I didn't want to be the friend who couldn't just be happy for him. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had failed him somehow, that I hadn't done enough to protect him from making a decision that could seriously impact his financial future. A few weeks later, Mike went through with it. He bought the $10,000 ring on credit and proposed to Sarah in a beautiful, intimate setting. She said yes, of course, and from what I could tell, she was over the moon about the ring. They posted pictures on social media, and all of our friends gushed over how gorgeous the ring was and how happy they looked together. I congratulated him, trying to bury my concerns, but they still lingered in the back of my mind. Now, as I reflect on everything that happened, I'm second-guessing myself. Was I wrong to intervene? Should I have just kept my mouth shut and let Mike spend his money however he wanted? I know I was coming from a place of care, but maybe I overstepped. Maybe I was being too judgmental, too focused on what I thought was best for him, without considering how important this gesture was to him. The thing is, I care about Mike. I've seen people make financial mistakes that haunt them for years, and I didn't want that for him. But maybe I went about it the wrong way. Maybe I should have trusted that he knew what he was doing, even if I didn't agree with it. So now, Reddit, I'm turning to you. Am I the jerk for trying to talk my friend out of going into debt for an engagement ring? Should I have just supported him unconditionally? Or was I right to speak up, even if it caused tension between us? What would you have done in my situation?